Hello, my name is Rachel Beuschel, and today I will be presenting my research essay. So my topic is, should rich people have to pay more taxes? Some people believe that the rich work hard for the money and shouldn't have to pay more taxes than everybody else. However, for many, they believe that the wealthiest top 1% of earners in America will still be economically secure if they pay more taxes. I believe that the rich should have to pay more taxes, especially the top 1%. Because they're the ones who are the most financially stable to pay for our tax increase, so it just makes economic sense. One of the most common arguments against taxing the rich more is that they work hard for their money, so why should they have to pay more in taxes? Anthony W. Orlando from the Huffington Post states, when pressed for proof, they usually point to surveys showing that the rich spend more hours working and few hours in leisure activities than everybody else. So basically, he's stating a reason given by rich people to why they work harder than everybody else. Basically saying that they're working hard, so it's not fair that they're picking up the slack for someone who isn't paying their fair share. To refute argument one, poor people work just as hard as rich people, but they don't make enough to pay as much in taxes like the rich people can. Anthony W. Orlando also points out that the rich work more because they can. They have the option to do more work hours. Most middle class and poor Americans have very little control over their work schedules, and the poor and middle class have increased their work hours over time, but their wages have steadily fallen. What this shows is that even though the average person does work hard, they can't control how much time they work, so they can't control how much money they make. Also, the working class does work just as hard as the wealthy because they are doing more work for less pay, which shows that they aren't being lazy. They're just getting overworked in a sense. Also, with that, if the top 1% of earners in our country, which earn at least 480,930 per year, according to a recent released IRS data that compiled earnings and taxes paid from 2015. So if they got taxed at a higher rate, they will still be economically sound. So another opposing view for those who say that the rich shouldn't have to pay more in taxes often argue that they are stimulating the economy through trickle-down economics, which the balance describes as a theory that claims benefits for the wealthy trickle down to everybody else. And trickle-down economics assumes investors, savers, and company owners are the real drivers of growth. It promises they'll use any extra cash from tax cuts to expand businesses. So many believe that the rich contribute money into the economy by building homes, purchasing products, and creating and expanding more companies, and through that would benefit everybody because it's boosting the economy. So taxing the rich at a higher rate could negatively impact the economy. This argument is, in a way, valid because during the Reagan administration, according to Kimberly Emido, during the Reagan administration, it seemed like trickle-down economics works. The administration policies known as Reaganomics helped end the 1980 recession. So in a sense, it did work during that time. However, in today's times, trickle-down economics doesn't work because we aren't in a recession anymore. Nick Hanauer from American Prospect newspaper describes trickle-down economics as a myth because giving businesses and corporations tax breaks won't create jobs. Instead, a successful economy comes from a strong middle working class. So the rich wouldn't actually be helping the economy by getting tax breaks, because that money never really trickles down like it's supposed to. So they're not stimulating the economy like they claim they do. Also, money isn't going back into the economy like it should because a lot of rich people are finding many loopholes. And one of many loopholes stated in the New York Times includes converting one type of income into another type that's taxed at a lower rate. So there's actually some greedy, wealthy people that are finding ways to break the system to keep their money from the government. So they're not really in helping boost the economy like they claim to. But if you, I don't think we should tax the rich at such a high rate that they can't invest back into the economy. But if we raise their income tax to at least 40% a year, then it would generate about $157 billion in revenue that first year. Just that amount could have profound effects in communities that are struggling, and that could help stimulate the economy. The final opposing argument to my topic is taxing the rich creates a disincentive to do work and decreases jobs. So this means that taxing at a higher rate could discourage businesses from expanding their companies or creating new ones, which would result in a decrease in jobs. So now it wouldn't just be the rich who are affected, but also workers. And also, taxing the rich more would give social programs such as welfare more money to assist people. This would then give people receiving welfare a disincentive to do work. A professor of economics, Christopher Pissardes, once described that redistribution takes away the incentive for lower skilled people to acquire skills and go into the labor market. So he's just stating that it's possible that taxing the wealthy more gives lower skilled individuals a reason to not try as hard or to find or not find work or to not contribute into society. However, to refute that argument, people still need to work hard for all the other expenses in life. Taxing the rich more doesn't mean that the lower or middle class people wouldn't have to pay taxes anymore. It just means that the rich will pay a tad more in taxes. Plus, increasing taxes on the rich will most likely not have profound effects on them, since that money will come from their savings accounts rather than their wallets. This means that a tax increase wouldn't affect the daily lives of wealthy people, so that small amount increase in taxes could help the lower class get back on their feet so they could eventually start contributing more. This would then lead to closing the wage gap. The New York Times states that the past 15 years, middle class families don't make as much money as they used to. Also, economist Thomas Piketty said that the reason for wealth inequality is due to the top earners in America receiving lower tax rates. With that, if there was a raise on income tax, then it would help the inequality that's happening now. This would then lead to the lower class to start contributing more and get back onto their feet so they could get back into their communities, which would lead to more money for the government in the long run. So for my final argument for why I believe that the rich should be taxed at a higher rate is that they could actually benefit our communities. If we tax 40% to the top 1/10% of earners in America, which is an income of 9.4 million stated by the New York Times, then we could generate about 55 billion in extra revenue in its first year, which could go back. That money could go back into to fund public services like healthcare, infrastructure, education, and a national defense, which would help our communities. Also, according to Patricia Cohen from the New York Times, that tax increase on the top 1/10% of earners in America could potentially lead to the elimination of an estimated 47 billion undergraduate tuitions for public colleges nationwide. So college students then wouldn't have to worry about the stress of college debts, which would give many people who can't afford college an incentive to go. This could potentially help lower the unemployment rate. Also, more benefits of a tax increase include, also described in an article by the New York Times, reduce government borrowing, which would then decrease federal deficits. A tax increase could cause the government to lower its dependency on other countries for borrowing money. So again, that could just help benefit public services, provide more money for that. So if we want the best education system, the best defense, the best roads, and less foreign dependency, then we need to tax the rich more because they have the means to support it. In conclusion, we need to start closing loopholes and make the rich pay a fair share in tax. Taxing the rich could greatly impact our communities. It would promote a better economy by working from the bottom up instead of relying on the uncertainty of the rich. So some questions for my topic include, would poor people still have to pay taxes? Yes, they still would have to pay taxes because they are American citizens and everybody has to pay taxes. But for this essay, I just talked about how the rich should have more taxes, but yes, poor people would still pay taxes. Another question would be, where would the tax money go? So any tax money is collected by the government that usually goes into public services like education, healthcare, national defense. infrastructure just to make, the communities like a better place. And finally, how much does the top 1% of earners in America get taxed now? If you look at tax brackets, it's about, for individuals who make 500,000, it's about 37%. So that's about like the top 1% would get taxed at about 37%. Thank you for listening to my research presentation on taxes. On the next two slides, you'll see this is where I found my research.